presents with thanks.
Libhart, and you're watching Vision Plus. Are you just about run ragged from going shopping and doing some of those things this time of the year? Well, I have something that I'd like to, if it isn't too late, and I hope it isn't, that if you haven't spent all of your money, your credit cards and everything, let me give you a hint. This is a program that if you could have Christmas paid for by December 25th, you'd want to know about it, wouldn't you? Well, let's see if we can't explore some ideas of just how that can be done. It says in 2 Kings 4 that it talks about debt. It says, go sell the oil and pay your debts, you and your son shall live. But it talks in a lot of different places about being debt-free. Now, we have a long ways to go to get there, but we have figured out some ways, me and some other people, and I'd like to hear from you with your ideas too, of exactly how we can do that. Well, in the past, I don't know about you, but I almost dreaded January to roll around because then the piper had to be paid, because you had all of those little gold and green triangular things and some with orange and yellow overlapping circles that you'd paid for Christmas, and then you had to go pay for those in January, February, and so forth. So we had plastic surgery, which means we simply cut up all the credit cards but one. So we won't be, and it's American Express, so you don't spend those on Christmas things. That's just if you need to rent a car or prove your ID or something. But I have some ideas that really started with my son Anthony. I said, how are we going to not spend a lot this year for Christmas and still have a great Christmas? He said, I tell you what, you've got something I'd like to inherit, and how about letting me inherit at Christmas time? I thought, that's not a bad idea. If you are a parent with grown children, I'm going to give you 5 ideas of how to save money. We're going to go through the different groups. First of all, since I am a mother with grown children, I'm going to start with the grown children, because I think it would be so exciting to have Christmas paid for by December 25th this year and every year, and all of the holidays, birthdays and anniversaries and whatever it is, could be wedding showers. Now, one of the things you can do if you're a grown person, if you have grown children, is just ask them, what do we own, that you'd like to inherit? And if there is, sometimes you'd be surprised that it might be that, well, Mom, I'd like that quilt that was grandmother's. It could be just something in the family that you didn't even think about, and someday they probably would have it anyway, but they really treasure it, and treasure it now. So I made a list of some of the things that you could give them as a hint, so that your New Year's resolution, we made our New Year's resolution a little bit early in saying that we want to have Christmas paid for by December 25th, so we didn't have to pay the piper, and because I think it's the way the Lord wants us to live now. Of course, we've known for generations about baking things, all kinds of baked goods, and there is nothing that pleases me more than have someone walk in with a plate of cookies or something, and I know you're the same way. But for your grown children, there are tangible and intangible ideas. Now, the tangible ones, okay, you can get a box, wrap it up, beautifully wrapped. Well, first of all, you get a list from them, and you can talk about the Blue Willow dishes, silverware, stemware, Lazy Susan, stereos, favorite albums that you might have, some tapes, some Bibles. I'd like to have my mother's Bible. I'd really like to have my dad's Bible. My dad died on one Christmas day, and that would be a very special thing for me. And linen tablecloths, things that maybe are tucked back in a closet somewhere that some grandmother has that hasn't used it perhaps for years, but it would be fun for newlyweds to own those things. Handmade quilts, ancestors' pictures, patio furniture, paintings, candle holders, centerpieces. Well, you could make some of these things, but if you had them, tools, you could look through your tools and see if in fact some of the tools were some you could share. Now, put a handwritten note into a beautifully wrapped box placed on a hanky. Maybe don't give any ties. No ties this Christmas. Maybe one of that little thing that's called a drawer potpourri, a silk square, silk hanky for a men's coat. And on that, a certificate, hand-done certificate. Maybe you could create it on your computer for each gift and wrap them all different sizes. If you cannot get it under the tree, if it's a quilt, you could probably wrap it and tuck it in the back of the tree. If it's a stereo or something, I don't think they'd go under the tree. But it would be great for you to give some of those gifts. Now, the intangible for your grown children, I'm still on that one, you could have beautifully wrapped box. Remember to ask them for some ideas. And then inside the box, say, this note entitles you to, and it could be something like some certain nights, there are a number of nights of babysitting, be specific. Otherwise, they'll say, well, they'll bring them every night forever and say, well, you said babysitting. But maybe if you happen to sew, you could alter their clothes. There's people always wanting to let clothes out, bring them in, lengthen them, shorten them. Something that you could do is copying off family recipes for your children or grandchildren. Not a pinch of this and a dab of that, but exactly an eighth of a teaspoon or a half a cup or whatever. And you could actually do some things like write out some things that happened. And my children asked me to quit writing some of the personal stories about them unless I changed the names, the ages, the sex, and the dates. And another thing is just asking and giving love, faith, and hope. I was delighted and really surprised to find out that it was a doable thing in our family. Of course, we've had a lot of financial difficulties this year, and we have some extra things around the house, and some silver and dishes we don't use. I told Dee, no, Dee, you can't have my fur yet. Tony got me that several years ago, and I'm hanging on to it a little while. Now, what about elderly friends? That's another idea. And in that, you could do the same thing. You could write a note that says, this note entitles you to, and ask them what they like, so they can give you as many ideas as possible. And you could even write them in a Christmas note that you're writing to them if they're in some other state. And I know what it will say if they're like my mother, who's 87. Come visit me. That's what she wants. Help me go through memorabilia. She'd like for me to help her go through things that she'd like to keep or throw away, or maybe some of us. Ask what they like. Go through and clean closets. My mother liked me to help her do that. And boxes that, it's either now or later for some of us that have elderly parents. We're either going to have to do it now or later, so that would be something we could do for them. They would rather have that than any new whatnot or thingamajig or dress or blouse many times than that you could pick out. My mother also wanted me to help her pick out her new glasses. She'd gotten a prescription for glasses, and she wanted that. They like to feel that you care enough, that you're giving the love, like 1 Corinthians 13 talks about. The love. Not love because you're going to get love back, but love just because you love them. Boy, when I finally realized that God loved me and I didn't have to do anything back, it wasn't because I loved Him first, but He first loved me. That was such an exciting thing. And she wanted me to listen to her without advising her. She would like for me to bring the grandchildren, and then a quick note, she said, but don't stay too long, because children sometimes make grandmothers and grandfathers feel nervous if they're around too long, too much rowdiness, too many spilled cookies on and things on their sofas. Well, they want you to give love. They like for you to eat the food that they cook. Sometimes we just want to take them out to lunch, and they want to go out to lunch or dinner or breakfast, whatever. But they'd like for you to also eat their food. And maybe they'd just like a trip to Walmart. Take the time to take them somewhere. Not because you need to do anything, but just to make them feel that you're doing something for them. More of what it is spending time with them All of these things are just primarily spending time with them. And she also said, don't tell me how to handle my checkbook, my money, or how to run my house, because I guess I have been in the past forgetting those things which are ahead, as St. Paul says, looking to the future. I have actually been nosy and tried to give her this free advice about how to run her life, and her free advice is worth exactly what she pays for it. It's free, and it's worth every penny of it. How about grandchildren? If you're going to do something for grandchildren or the neighbor's children or grandchildren, you could write a little note. This note entitles you to. And I asked my grandchildren what they like. You know what they like? 3 games of hide and seek. They love for me to come and play hide and seek with them. And 1 giggle time. That giggle time is when we just go hilariously crazy laughing, and the more we laugh, the more we giggle. 1 game of miniature golf with me, and then they'd also like to have a game of miniature golf with 3 of their friends. And they'd like to go ice skating with me. They like to see me put on the ice skates too. I don't know if I'll do that part, but we'll think about it. They like to go to Chuck E. Cheese. They wanted to go to the Birmingham Zoo. They wanted, oh, this was interesting, me to read a story to them until you, the child, the little one, gets tired of me reading. Now wait a minute, you got to be rested up for this one, because they can let you read and read and read and read. I wondered if we say just one more story, just one more story, but what they're wanting is to avoid going to sleep, because they want a glass of milk, they want a glass of water, but they like for you to read to them. What a gift that would be. And you can do that. Have a little book in there, and it wouldn't cost a lot. And instead of buying them, you know what my grandson asked for? He asked for a go-kart. I went to check on prices, a couple hundred, up to $500. No way, Jose. So I said, well, give me some other ideas. So these are things that we can do. Buy them good Christian books and then promise to read them. And then follow through on our promise. And you know what he liked? He's a first grader. He liked me listening to him read. I was shocked to realize how well he could read. And another thing, I got to tell him about what we did when I was a little child. We made these tin cans. You take 2 tin cans, and of course you wash them, peel the labels off like 2 corn or peas cans, and then you put a string between them, and you make our old-fashioned telephone or telegraph. And you can talk into those cans, and the other person can hear it. You make the string real long, go around the corner of the house. It's great fun. Take a couple when you open cranberries or whatever, then just clean out put the cans in the dishwasher or wash the cans, and get your string and make them, wrap them up in a gift, and go out on Christmas Day or when you see them and actually play, listen to them, talk to them. Use some positive messages that you can say, I love you, and you can say, you are terrific, you're learning good, so any kind of positive things. But that's a wonderful gift that you can do for them. And I found out another thing that they like, after you, of course, ask them some of these things that they want them to do. They wanted Grandfather's flashlight and some of his tools. They wanted, that's always been one thing you can't get, you've got to put away, is Grandfather's flashlight. So what we did, we went and bought a new flashlight for Grandfather and gave them the old flashlight. And they don't know that. I hope they're not listening. Oh well, if they are, so you'll know what one of the gifts are. That they like Grandfather's tools and hammers. They want us to sit with them at the computer. And my 3-year-old granddaughter likes me sit with her and let her sew at the sewing machine. Well, hey, she can learn. That can be a little note, a promise to them. And you have to do some of those promises on Christmas Day if you're near them. And then have a set wrapped for Christmas conversation. Make up a song with their name in it and sing it to them. Sure, you don't have to have a great voice, but you can say, Make up your own tune. It could be the words of Jesus loves you, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. But you could say it in a different tune and say, Jesus loves... I don't know if I can do a different tune, but I could think about it. After some of you heard me singing one day, we never want to do that again, do we? No. But our grandchildren don't know the difference, maybe our children. Write a grandchildren's newsletter on your computer if you have one, or have it typed and copied on some wild copying paper. Go wild, be innovative. And in that you can tell the stories of the day they were born, tell the stories of some cute, not so cute sayings that you've heard them say. I remember, some of you remember the day that we had David, and I told David, he was about 4 at the time, I said, David, you have your shoes on the wrong feet. He looked up at me with these big eyes and he said, Grandmother, they're the only feet I have. So if they say these cute things and jokes that he used to tell, why do the birds fly south? Because it's too far to walk. You can have all kinds of fun little things in your grandchildren's newsletter. Have their names in it, lots of places. The things they did the first time you ever saw them. Could be the day they were born, or the first time you visited, or first time you talked to them over the telephone, or the goo-goo dad, the goo-goo mama, some words they said. Then, in the newsletter, tell them what things were like when you were a child. What you wore to school, what the school looked like. I remember going one time to a 4-room school, and we really truly had a pot-bellied stove in the middle. We really did put coal in the stove, and they loved to hear stories about that. And they think, you know, they ask me questions like, Grandmother, did you enjoy playing with Jesus when you were a little girl? See, they think that was so many years ago that I grew up when Jesus did. It doesn't matter. It's something they love. They love seeing their name in the paper. If you'll make it big print, they probably can learn. The older ones can read it to the younger ones. And then what you did with what kind of pets you had. Our pets were farm animals. I never really learned to milk a cow. One time when I was in 4-H club, they had me to... One of the people in the milking contest in the 4-H club wasn't there. They had me to do that. Well, I never milked a cow before in my life. But they thought because I grew up on a farm, I knew how, and I got this little thing, and I was trying to milk this cow, and I was a comedy routine for the people. I didn't mean to be, but it was. But they loved to hear stories about that. Now, what did you do today? Tell them things like, I remember one time we asked the grandchild, they were staying with the babysitter, and I got back that afternoon and I said, what all did you do today? David said, they told me not to tell. Was I going to find out then? I was sure I wanted to find out when they told him not to tell. So we found out they'd gone swimming. They weren't supposed to. But they love to hear those stories. Now, what about the next group of people? You let your mind just go wild. You can do that for your own children. It doesn't have to be just grandchildren or the neighbors. Even the neighbors love to hear those things of what you did when you were a little boy or girl. Now, what is the future but the teenagers? Now, ask them what they like, the biggie. Ask questions, then listen with your heart. Because a lot of people do not listen to teenagers. Let them use your car for a special date. Okay, that might be a real challenge to have the guests do that. Ask them if you can use their car for a special occasion for yourself. Ask them what they're involved in. If they play any kind of sports, if they're, do they have a day that you can go visit their school? They don't have to tell anybody that you're the grandparents, but if you do come, I mean, either find out what they would like for you to wear. If they don't want you to wear a suit and a tie, or a suit and dress-up things, they want you to come in jeans, find out what they'd like and go. If they'd invite you to a ball game, to a play, to ice skating, to roller skating, to... my daughter has asked me a really strange thing. She asked me, she sells, and she's asked me to go on one of her sales calls to spend a day with her. I'm going to do it. I think that's a weird thing to ask, but hey, if that makes her happy, I'm going to do it. and ask and go to their event and then listen to them. Not just to the words they're saying, but listen between the lines. Ask them what they want to do, what they're doing now, what they want to do when they get out of high school, what they want to do when they get out of college. Do they want to go to college? Do they want to go a trip around the world? Try to find out what that hot button is from the teenagers. And remove the big three from your category of your vocabulary. And write yourself a note. Put it on the mirror. On my honor, I promise not to. The big three are C's. Criticize, condemn, or complain. Try it for 1 week. Hey, it's like fasting or going on a diet. Don't say you're going to be able to do it forever. But you can try it. I call it an Esther fast. You can go on a fast for 3 days. You can go on a not complain, condemn, or criticize for 3 days. And then you can go into a what I call the Daniel fast. That's 21 days. You can try it for 21 days, that you'll fast from condemning, criticizing, complaining to your teenagers. And then, hey, if you've gone for 3 days or 3 weeks, you might try it for a month, 6 months, a year. It might be possible. Get real. Let the hair grow. Let it come off. Change the colors of their hair. Does it really matter? No, we don't need to condemn, complain, or criticize them for those things. So what if they don't want to wear jeans? They don't want to wear a suit to church. Let them wear what they like to church. Ask their opinion on some business dealing you're doing, and then try it and tell them what your result was. Get them to go shopping with you for some clothing to pick out. Maybe even look at your wardrobe and see what kind of clothes you have and ask their opinion of what they would wear. How can you upgrade your... Maybe it's just shorten your skirts to not come halfway between the calf, but just maybe 2 fingers below your knee. That would be... Now, they wear these maybe mini shorts, and that might not be what you want to do, but take their advice with faith, hope, and love. I haven't figured out how to put all of this under the tree other than a little note. After all, you have some responsibility too, so you want to do that. As soon as you figure it out, get in touch with Bonnie here at the TV station, Bonnie Libhart, 461-8148. I love it. And the next hardest one are your own younger ones or your neighbors. Let them tell you or make a list or promise Santa. I never will forget one Christmas, Christmas morning, our children opened their gifts, and one of our little ones was really disappointed. And they said, but Santa didn't bring me what I wanted. And we said, well, what did you want? I said, well, I told Santa at the mall what I wanted. They had told Santa, but they hadn't bothered to tell us. And so Santa didn't relay the message, or we didn't anyway. That was not a day that person was a happy camper that Christmas. So we learned that, but you want to have a list of things. You can't have, if you want a go-kart or a Nintendo game or the Super Nintendo, I mean, that's ridiculous. If you're trying to be debt-free, have everything paid for, all Christmas paid for by December 25th, you got to be real with your own budget. Now, you can get new items. This is a little late for this year, unless there's some more estate sales or garage sales. But all year long, there are things that perhaps you could buy at garage sales or estate sales. Or now, even here at Victory Network, they have a consignment shop that you can bring things you don't need anymore that are sold for people who do not have much Christmas, or you can come buy some things. There's some beautiful things. Our little granddaughter wants some skates, and I know they have some skates here, and I hope to buy them today if they haven't already been sold. But it doesn't matter whether they're new or not. Okay, I'm not going to be able to finish all of these ideas that I have, but so if you like copies of them, then you get in touch with Bonnie Libhart here at Victory Network, 461-8148, and I'll be happy to send you this How to Have Christmas Paid For by December the 25th. And it's yours free. I would allow you to make a little couple dollar donation to Victory if you want to, but if you can't, that's okay. It doesn't matter. But it would just be wonderful if you can. What I'd like to, maybe you could bring a white elephant item out to Victory Network and for their consignment shop. But by all means, come out and see the place. Oh, it is looking so beautiful. You won't believe if you look at all these things behind the set, the way Vicki has done that. I guess maybe Chuck allowed her to, or maybe even helped her, but I'm giving her all the credit. But isn't it beautiful? I just love it. I love it. So, yes, this year we may find new meaning to gifts, a gift of ourselves, our faith, hope, and love. The New International Version of the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13:13, but the greatest of these is love. Love given. What goes around comes around. And I want to go to it real quick. 1 Corinthians 13:13. I have this parallel Bible that is so fun to read because it has, I have one, well, we all have all these different Bibles, but I just have to share this one with you. 1 Corinthians 13:13, and it tells all about the loves. If I had the gift of being able to speak in other languages without learning them and could speak in every language there is in all the heavens and earth, but didn't love others, I would only be making noise. If I had the gift of prophecy, knew all about what is going to happen in the future, knew everything about everybody and everything, but didn't love others, what good would it do? Even if I had the gift of faith so that I could speak to a mountain to make it move, I would still be worth nothing at all without love. If I gave everything I have to poor people, and if I were burned alive for preaching the gospel but didn't love others, it would be of no value whatever. So this Christmas, let's practice 1 Corinthians 13:13. Love is very patient and kind, never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is hardly ever noticed when others do it wrong. It's never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. So you read the rest of the chapter, and if there's a way at all possible to get it in the Living Bible, it just says so many wonderful things. The greatest of these is love. So whatever you give this year, you give love to all of your people. Give them the benefit of the doubt so that everything that you give out comes back to you. I love you. You're watching Vision Plus with Bonnie Libhart. Bless your heart for watching.
Your voice is raised, give glory.